The void stretched endlessly, an indifferent canvas of black punctuated by distant stars and drifting nebulae, yet it trembled at the approach of a single human warship. A vessel of unassuming design, its hull marked by decades of service and battle scars, slipped silently through the cosmic expanse. The Galactic Empire, confident in its dominance and the superiority of its fleets, had never considered that a lone Terran ship could arrive at the edge of their territory without notice. Yet here it was, uncloaked, defiant, and radiating a presence that even the oldest sensors could not ignore. Inside the ship, the crew moved with quiet efficiency, aware of every heartbeat, every vibration, every flicker of energy that indicated their precarious position. The captain stood at the helm, calm yet resolute, eyes tracing the holographic displays that mapped out enemy positions light years away. Every calculation, every trajectory, every pulse of energy had been anticipated. The humans did not fear the Empire, they respected it, understood it, and now intended to challenge it with the precision and intellect that only their species could muster. As the first Imperial scouts detected the Terran vessel, confusion rippled through their ranks. Communications faltered, commanders exchanged incredulous signals, and the reports of a single human warship, arriving without fleet support, without warning, and without fear, sent ripples of disbelief cascading through the Galactic Command. The Empire's arrogance had long been its strength, but it was also its vulnerability, and the humans would exploit it with a patience born of centuries of survival and ingenuity. The human ship adjusted its trajectory, gliding past asteroid fields and remnants of dead worlds, using the terrain of space as both shield and weapon. Cloaked observers might have mistaken it for a drift of debris, yet every movement was deliberate, every calculated, every moment an exhibition of strategy and restraint. The hum of the engines, the soft flicker of energy conduits, the rhythm of the ship itself, it all spoke of a species that had learned to turn intellect into armor and foresight into a weapon. Meanwhile, across the Empire's communication networks, reports of the human ship multiplied. Fleets stationed in nearby systems scrambled, attempting to intercept, to analyze, to prepare. Yet none could anticipate the subtle genius of Terran tactics. Small frigates and reconnaissance vessels were drawn into the void, only to find the humans already several steps ahead. Every sensor ping, every energy scan, every attempt to flank or deceive was met with calm precision, the Terran ship adapting in real time, turning potential vulnerability into decisive advantage. Within the silent corridors of the ship, human ingenuity was in motion. Engineers monitored power conduits with meticulous care, adjusting energy flows to optimize shields and weapons. Tactical officers analyzed Imperial fleet formations with fluid reasoning, predicting movements before they could occur. Every crew member, from the youngest technician to the veteran pilot, operated in synchrony, their collective mind functioning as a single entity. The ship itself seemed alive, a fusion of human intellect, moral resolve, and relentless curiosity that defied even the Empire's most advanced algorithms. As the first skirmish unfolded near a fragmented moon, human precision became undeniable. Imperial fighters, sleek and deadly, approached to intercept. The Terran ship responded not with blind aggression, but with adaptive strategy. Countermeasures disrupted targeting systems, energy pulses misdirected enemy maneuvers, and a single salvo disabled multiple fighters simultaneously. To the Empire, it appeared almost supernatural, a single human vessel dictating the flow of battle with an intelligence and coordination that no machine, no AI, and no soldier had predicted. Amidst the darkness and chaos, quiet reflection punctuated every decision. Crew members paused, even for seconds, to observe the vastness around them, to consider the stakes, to reaffirm their purpose. This was not reckless bravery, it was deliberate, calculated courage. Humanity's power was not an overwhelming force, it was in foresight, adaptability, and the moral clarity to act decisively when all else seemed impossible. And as the Terran ship advanced into the Imperial system, sensors lighting up with responses from fleets unprepared for its arrival, the galaxy realized a single terrifying fact: the humans had come, and they were not asking for permission. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The Terran warship glided deeper into the Imperial system, its trajectory deliberate, almost serene, yet every movement radiated intent and purpose. Imperial scouts scrambled, their sensors buzzing with confusion and alarm, yet the humans moved as though reading the future, anticipating every intercept, every flanking maneuver. Every feint the Empire might attempt. The vast void between stars became a stage for intellect, strategy, and unyielding human resolve, each moment thick with tension yet pulsing with precision. From the command deck, the captain studied the holographic projections, eyes tracing the shifting formations of Imperial vessels. Each ship, each energy signature, each communication ping was meticulously analyzed. The humans were not merely reacting, they were orchestrating a symphony of calculated actions. Orders flowed silently through the crew, executed with fluid perfection. Every technician, every pilot, every officer became an extension of the ship's mind, anticipating threats and opportunities in real time. Even the Empire's most advanced artificial intelligences could not match the adaptive ingenuity on display. The first skirmish erupted near a shattered planetary ring, where Imperial frigates attempted to corral the Terran ship into a kill zone. The humans did not panic. Shields pulsed with anticipation, energy grids reconfigured dynamically, and countermeasures flared in precise bursts that disrupted enemy targeting systems. Human fighters, launched in tight formations, danced through the debris, weaving unpredictable paths that confounded pursuit. Every salvo, every maneuver, every strike was measured with surgical accuracy, reflecting centuries of survival, ingenuity, and the moral clarity that defined humanity's approach to conflict. Meanwhile, the Empire's communications erupted in confusion and panic. Commanders transmitted frantic signals, questioning reports, demanding confirmation, yet each message was met with silence from the human ship. The Terran vessel did not taunt, did not declare war, it acted with quiet certainty. The Empire's arrogance had long been its strength, but here it revealed its fatal flaw. It assumed that fear in numbers alone could dominate a species that had mastered strategy, adaptation, and moral foresight. Inside the ship, boarding teams were readied, anticipating the first potential breach or encounter. Engineers monitored energy flows, rerouting power to shields where Imperial weapons had focused, while simultaneously adjusting propulsion systems to maintain agility in the dense debris fields. Tactical officers predicted enemy flanking paths, marking ambush zones and escape corridors for Allied fighters. The humans were not merely defending, they were preparing to dictate the engagement entirely, to turn every Imperial attempt into a demonstration of their superiority in intellect and coordination. In a tense, silent moment between skirmishes, the crew paused briefly to observe the cosmos outside, fractured moons, glittering asteroid belts, distant nebulae glowing softly in the darkness. There was beauty in the chaos, a reminder of what they were fighting for, a grounding presence in the midst of strategy and violence. Even in the heart of combat, humanity never lost its perspective. Courage and ingenuity were as important as firepower, and every life saved or risked was a reflection of the species' moral depth. As the Imperial frigates closed in, attempting to surround the Terran vessel, the humans executed a maneuver that stunned their adversaries. Auxiliary energy grids were rerouted in milliseconds, shields pulsed to repel concentrated fire, and counter-strike drones launched with precision from hidden compartments. Imperial ships found their formations disrupted, engines overloaded, and weapons systems disabled, unable to comprehend the adaptive intelligence guiding their foe. The galaxy watched as a single human warship turned expected defeat into a calculated advantage. Proving that intellect and resolve could rival even the mightiest fleets, even in victory, humans displayed restraint. Boarding teams avoided unnecessary casualties, engineers repaired critical systems in the midst of sparks and smoke, and pilots maneuvered with the precision of artists rather than destroyers. Humanity's strength was not raw power, it was strategy, foresight, and a moral clarity that even the Empire could not calculate. Every move, every decision, every improvisation highlighted a species that had turned survival into an art, intelligence into a weapon, and courage into a beacon. By the time the first Imperial retreat signals rippled through the system, the Terran warship had already positioned itself at the edge of the fleet. Engines humming with quiet authority. The Empire had been warned. Their arrogance had met discipline, Their numbers had met intelligence, and their fear would ripple across the stars. Humanity had arrived, calm yet unstoppable, and the galaxy could no longer underestimate them. And in the silent void between stars, the first spark of cosmic defiance ignited. The Imperial fleets, still reeling from the audacity of a single human warship, scrambled to consolidate. Massive vessels pivoted into defensive formations, energy shields humming and weapons charging, yet even their most advanced AI systems could not predict the Terran maneuvers. Every approach, every vector, every pulse of energy seemed anticipated before it could happen. The humans were not simply fighting, they were rewriting the rules of engagement, turning the Empire's confidence into disarray. The Terran ship moved like a predator through the fractured planetary system, using asteroid belts, magnetic anomalies, and debris fields as natural camouflage and tactical advantage. Smaller Imperial vessels attempted to flank and cut off escape routes, but human pilots wove through the hazards with a blend of artistry and lethal efficiency. Every shot fired, every maneuver executed, displayed an intelligence and anticipation the Empire could neither counter nor comprehend. It was not mere skill, it was the embodiment of centuries of survival, adaptation, and ingenuity distilled into motion. Inside the flagship, the bridge was a symphony of focus and precision. Tactical officers read shifting holographic projections of enemy formations, overlaying trajectories and predictive models in real time. Engineers adjusted shield harmonics and energy distribution mid-calculation, diverting power to reinforce vulnerable sectors without compromising mobility. Pilots responded instantly to subtle cues, moving as if guided by a singular consciousness. The ship itself seemed alive, its systems responding seamlessly to the decisions of a species that had perfected the fusion of intellect, intuition, and moral clarity. A sudden breach in a nearby Imperial frigate sparked the first true boarding encounter. Alien combatants, armored and formidable, spilled through decompression hatches, expecting to meet disarrayed humans. Instead, they encountered Ingenuity. Magnetic fields pinned some attackers to walls, energy pulse barriers disoriented others, and automated drones struck with lethal precision from angles the intruders could not anticipate. Hallways twisted with kinetic adjustments, forcing intruders into traps designed not for destruction alone, but for control, subdual, and maximum tactical advantage. Humans moved with coordination that seemed almost prescient. Meanwhile, the fleet at large performed as a single organism. Smaller Terran ships executed coordinated flanking attacks, drawing fire away from the flagship while simultaneously creating openings in the Imperial lines. Allied species, some previously aided by human diplomacy and courage, arrived in perfect synchrony, their alien technology meshing flawlessly with Terran tactics. Energy beams converged on enemy formations, shields interlocked, and fighter wings executed maneuvers that were precise, terrifying, and impossibly elegant. The Empire's assumption of human inferiority shattered as one species demonstrated the ability to unify intellect, strategy, and moral resolve across light years of space. In the corridors of battle, moments of quiet ingenuity punctuated the chaos. Engineers rigged damaged conduits to generate temporary pulse barriers. Medics stabilized the wounded under the glare of sparks and smoke, improvising solutions that saved lives and maintained morale. Pilots threaded between debris and debris field hazards, turning environmental risk into tactical advantage. Every action, every choice, every improvisation reflected a species that understood not only survival, but the art of transforming adversity into strength. The Imperial command attempted a decisive maneuver, a coordinated strike aimed at disabling the Terran flagship's reactors. Massive beams of energy arced through space, converging on the center of the human ship. Yet humans had anticipated this. Auxiliary grids rerouted power to shields at microsecond precision. Kinetic deflectors rippled outward to absorb the energy, and counterstrike drones intercepted projectiles before they reached critical systems. The assault, intended to destroy, instead became a display of human foresight and ingenuity. One by one, the Imperial vessels faltered, their formations unraveling under calculated pressure, their AI systems unable to adapt to a foe who operated not by pattern recognition, but by intuition, intelligence, and moral clarity. Amidst the clashing energies and roaring engines, the human crew never lost perspective. A quiet pause in the chaos allowed for reflection, even in the heart of battle, the enormity of the void, the stakes of their defiance, and the responsibility carried by each decision. Humanity's advantage was never in overwhelming firepower, but in precision, adaptability, and the ethical calculus that tempered strength with purpose. Every life preserved, every action considered, and every tactical choice reinforced a single undeniable truth: they would not be underestimated. As Imperial ships began to retreat in fragmented groups, the Terran fleet continued its advance, consolidating gains and pressuring remaining enemy formations with unrelenting precision. Boarding actions neutralized residual threats, fleet maneuvers cut off escape routes, and allied species reinforced strategic points with perfect timing. Humanity had become not just a tactical challenge, but a moral and intellectual reckoning. The Empire's arrogance, once absolute, had been shattered by one species' courage, foresight, and unity of purpose, and as the stars beyond stretched in silent witness, the galaxy realized that the humans had arrived not to beg, not to bargain, but to declare a new paradigm. Intellect, morality, and defiance were as formidable as any fleet, and their place among the stars would never again be questioned. The Terran fleet pressed forward, a coherent force of intellect and resolve cutting through the disarrayed Imperial formations. Each vessel moved not independently, but as part of a singular, living organism, a choreography of precision and anticipation. Energy pulses from human ships arced in perfect synchronization, shields flared and dimmed in calculated patterns, and fighter wings traced paths so fluid that enemy sensors struggled to follow. The galaxy, once indifferent, now trembled at the elegance of their defiance. Imperial commanders, desperate to regain control, ordered concentrated strikes on the Terran fleet's flanks. Dozens of capital ships converged, their firepower designed to crush, their AI algorithms predicting near-perfect outcomes. Yet humanity's response was not fear, it was strategy. Auxiliary power grids rerouted energy to kinetic deflectors, creating rippling barriers that absorbed concentrated volleys. Countermeasures deployed with preternatural timing. Missiles were intercepted mid-flight, and automated drones targeted weak points with surgical precision. Each human action was a lesson in adaptive intelligence, turning the Empire's strength into its own vulnerability. In the heart of the flagship, the captain and tactical officers coordinated multiple theaters of engagement simultaneously. Holographic projections displayed enemy movements, shield integrity, reactor stability, and boarding activity across the fleet. Orders flowed seamlessly, executed by crew members who moved as extensions of the ship itself. Engineers recalibrated damaged systems mid-combat, medics stabilized the wounded while sparks and smoke filled corridors, and pilots navigated asteroid fields and debris with the precision of master artisans. The humans were not merely surviving, they were orchestrating victory in real time, converting complexity into advantage. The first large-scale boarding engagement ignited on a massive Imperial cruiser. Alien intruders poured through breach points, expecting disarray. Instead, they encountered a labyrinth of ingenuity. Magnetic floors pinned invaders mid-stride, energy barriers redirected momentum, and holographic illusions created confusion that turned aggressors against one another. Human boarding teams struck with precision, using environmental advantages and improvised tactics that the Empire could not anticipate. The corridors became a dance of intellect and adaptability, every move reinforcing humanity's mastery of both strategy and courage. Simultaneously, smaller Terran frigates executed intricate flanking maneuvers, threading through asteroid belts, gas clouds, and gravitational anomalies. Fighters darted between colossal debris, luring enemy squadrons into traps where energy pulses, magnetic nets, and precision fire dismantled formations without reckless destruction. Allied species, long aided by human diplomacy and courage, now moved in perfect synchronization. Their alien vessels, unfamiliar in design, mirrored Terran tactics flawlessly. The Empire's arrogance had never accounted for such cohesion, species united not by coercion, but by respect and gratitude. fighting with intellect and purpose, a pivotal strike unfolded near the remnants of a shattered moon. Imperial capital ships concentrated energy on the flagship's reactors, intending a catastrophic strike. But humans had anticipated this. Energy conduits rerouted power to auxiliary shields in microseconds, kinetic fields deflected beams across the fleet, and counter-strike drones disabled targeting arrays before critical damage could occur. The attack, designed to annihilate, instead showcased the depth of human foresight and adaptability. Every move by the Empire became a study in miscalculation, a demonstration of the dangers of underestimating intelligence over brute force. In the boarding corridors, chaos and ingenuity intertwined. Engineers improvised energy pulses to seal breaches, medics stabilized wounded under debris and sparks, and soldiers used the ship itself as a weapon, leveraging gravity, magnetic fields, and structural quirks to incapacitate invaders. Every human action reflected a species that had mastered the art of improvisation, turning vulnerability into strategic strength, and danger into opportunity. The aliens had expected fear, confusion, and panic. They received calculated resistance, coordinated precision, and an unshakable moral clarity that made every human action a force multiplier. Above the battlefield, the Terran flagship maneuvered with unerring precision, projecting authority across the system. Energy beams disabled Imperial engines, tactical drones infiltrated communication networks, and fighters executed maneuvers that disrupted enemy coordination at every level. The Imperial command, once confident, now fragmented under pressure. Fleets faltered, AI algorithms failed to adapt, and commanders faced a species that did not merely react, they anticipated, calculated, and executed with unparalleled efficiency. Amidst the roaring engines and flashing energy, moments of human reflection endured. Crew members paused, even for seconds, to observe the vastness beyond, nebulae glowing faintly in the distance, shattered moons orbiting silently, and stars stretching across the void. This was not mere spectacle, it was grounding, a reminder of purpose, of the lives they defended, and the intelligence that guided their every action. Humanity's power was not in domination alone, it was in foresight, creativity, and the moral clarity to choose when, how, and why to act. By the time the Imperial retreat began, fragmented and chaotic, the Terran fleet had already solidified positions, reinforced weak points, and neutralized remaining threats. The galaxy bore witness to a single undeniable truth: humans, united by intellect, courage, and moral resolve, had transformed the battlefield into a testament of strategic brilliance. What the Empire had assumed would be a routine engagement had become an unyielding demonstration that defiance, ingenuity, and unity could shatter even the most formidable foe, and as the stars observed silently, humanity advanced, not as conquerors, but as architects of their own destiny, unyielding, unbroken, and unforgettable. The Terran fleet advanced deeper into Imperial space, every vessel moving with coordinated precision that turned chaos into advantage. The Empire's forces had regrouped, forming massive crescent formations to encircle the humans, concentrating firepower in an attempt to overwhelm what they still believed was a single ship. They had misjudged not just the humans' courage, but their intelligence, foresight, and ability to act as one organism. The void of space itself became a stage where intellect and moral clarity were as lethal as weapons. Imperial capital ships unleashed volleys of plasma, energy beams, and missile swarms aimed at the Terran flagship, intending to break their line and sow panic. Yet humanity responded not with blind retaliation, but with strategy. Energy shields pulsed in perfect rhythm with incoming fire, deflecting volleys into trajectories that disrupted enemy formations. Countermeasures targeted missile guidance systems mid-flight, while auxiliary drones infiltrated and disabled external sensors on key enemy vessels. Every attack the Empire mounted became an opportunity for humans to demonstrate adaptive brilliance. In the midst of the battlefield, smaller Terran vessels darted with breathtaking agility. Fighters threaded through asteroid fields, skimming past wreckage of dead worlds, luring Imperial squadrons into traps where energy nets immobilized them and precision fire incapacitated engines without destruction. Boarding teams readied themselves for the next wave, moving through corridors prepped with magnetic pulses, energy barriers, and improvised traps. Alien intruders expecting confusion encountered instead coordination, creativity, and an unrelenting will. Every move reinforced that humanity was not a species of panic or fear, but one of foresight, adaptability, and purpose. The largest boarding engagement erupted on an Imperial dreadnought attempting to pierce the Terran line. Hundreds of alien combatants poured through decompression hatches, weapons raised. Human boarding teams moved like shadows, using gravity manipulation, magnetic floors, and energy nets to neutralize attackers. Holographic illusions disoriented intruders, turning the ship's corridors into a maze they could not navigate. Engineers improvised pulse barriers mid-combat, medics stabilized allies under sparks and falling debris, and soldiers executed maneuvers that transformed ordinary structural features into tactical advantage. The invaders found themselves outmatched not by strength, but by intellect and moral clarity, a human hallmark across centuries of survival. Simultaneously, allied species previously aided by humanity joined the battle. Their fleets, now synchronized with Terran tactics, converged in perfect harmony. Energy beams struck in coordinated bursts, shields interlocked seamlessly, and fighter wings executed maneuvers that fractured Imperial formations. The combined force transformed what could have been a desperate fight into a spectacle of precision and ingenuity. The Empire's arrogance could not account for species united not by coercion, but by gratitude and strategic alignment, fighting with intellect, purpose, and coordination across light years of space. Above the battlefield, the flagship executed a maneuver that stunned observers. It moved in what appeared to be an impossible vector, weaving through concentrated enemy fire. Yet every trajectory had been calculated with microsecond precision. Energy conduits rerouted power dynamically to optimize shields and propulsion, while counterstrike drones neutralized incoming fire. Imperial AI systems faltered, unable to adapt to an opponent whose logic was flexible, moral, and anticipatory. Fleet movements were choreographed with such foresight that even the largest enemy vessels found themselves trapped in zones designed to maximize human advantage while minimizing collateral loss. In the corridors of combat, small acts of ingenuity shaped the tide. Engineers rerouted damaged power grids to create energy pulse traps. Medics stabilized wounded soldiers with improvised equipment, salvaging life in moments of chaos. Pilots navigated debris fields with artistic precision, threading between asteroid fragments and derelict ships to strike at enemy weak points. Every human action reinforced a principle the Empire could not understand: survival was not merely instinct, and victory was not just force. It was intelligence, creativity, and moral judgment applied with unflinching resolve. The climax of the engagement approached near the remnants of a shattered moon. Imperial command concentrated fire on the Terran flagship, intending to destroy its engines and cripple the fleet. Humans anticipated every calculation. Shields flared in precise sequence, deflecting energy beams across enemy vessels. Counterstrike drones disabled key targeting arrays, and auxiliary grids redistributed power to maintain mobility and weapons readiness. What was intended to be annihilation became demonstration. A single human vessel, anticipating every move, turned the Empire's assault into its own undoing. Amid the roar of engines and flares of energy, the crew of the flagship moved with unshakable purpose. Calm, coordinated, and unyielding, they executed maneuvers that combined intellect, courage, and moral clarity. Every member of the crew, engineers, medics, pilots, officers, acted as a node in a single, unified mind. Humanity had transformed what the Empire assumed would be chaos into an exhibition of precision, restraint, and unbroken ingenuity. By the time the Imperial fleet began to splinter, disorganized and fractured, the Terran forces had solidified gains across multiple sectors. Boarding teams neutralized remaining threats, fighters disrupted regrouping enemy squadrons, and allied species reinforced weak points with near-perfect timing. Humanity had not only survived, they had rewritten the rules of engagement. The galaxy bore witness to a species whose intelligence, moral judgment, and unity could overcome overwhelming force and turn apparent disadvantage into decisive victory. And as the stars stretched silently beyond, it became undeniable. Humanity's place among the stars was not granted. It was earned, defended, and proven. The remnants of the Imperial fleet scattered across the void, their formations fractured, engines damaged, and morale shattered. The Terran flagship moved with calm authority, gliding through the debris like a predator surveying a defeated prey. Around it, smaller vessels executed precision maneuvers, intercepting fleeing squadrons and neutralizing lingering threats without reckless destruction. Humanity did not revel in annihilation, it orchestrated order from chaos, proving that intellect, strategy, and moral clarity could achieve what brute force alone could not. Boarding teams continued to sweep enemy vessels, neutralizing opposition with minimal casualties. Corridors that once rang with alien weapon fire were now illuminated by the steady glow of human ingenuity. Engineers repaired structural damage mid-combat, rerouting energy to stabilize critical systems, while medics worked tirelessly to tend to both human and allied wounded. Pilots navigated asteroid fields and debris-strewn corridors with unprecedented skill, threading between wreckage to strike at remaining enemy weak points. Every action reinforced a truth the Empire could not comprehend: humans did not merely survive, they transformed adversity into advantage, intellect into armor, and foresight into a weapon more devastating than any energy beam. Across the battlefield, allied species moved in perfect synchrony with Terran strategy. Long ago aided by human hands, these ships now mirrored their tactics flawlessly. Energy beams converged on isolated Imperial vessels, shields interlocked, and fighter wings executed complex maneuvers that shattered remaining formations. The galaxy witnessed a coalition forged not by coercion, but by respect, loyalty, and shared purpose. Humanity had demonstrated that true strength came not from numbers alone, but from coordination, foresight, and the moral clarity to act decisively when all seemed impossible. The flagship, unscathed despite concentrated attacks, pivoted to the center of the battlefield. Its sensors detected the final cluster of Imperial command ships attempting a desperate retreat. Rather than annihilate blindly, humans enacted precision strategy. Countermeasures disrupted targeting systems, kinetic deflectors diverted concentrated energy, and auxiliary drones disabled critical propulsion arrays. The Imperial vessels, their AI faltering, engines crippled, and crews demoralized, were corralled into a zone of inescapable disadvantage. One by one, they surrendered, disabled, or retreated under human guidance, leaving no room for arrogance, only the undeniable proof of human superiority through intellect and moral fortitude. Inside the flagship, the crew moved with quiet reverence. Tactical officers monitored the battlefield with a sense of calm purpose, engineers recalibrated energy grids with fluid precision, and pilots maintained readiness for any final threat. Even amidst victory, humans paused to observe the universe beyond the viewport: shattered moons, glittering debris, distant stars, and the faint glow of nebulae painting the void with beauty. The enormity of the cosmos did not intimidate them, it reminded them of the responsibility carried by every choice, every maneuver, every life preserved or risked. Humanity's triumph was not born of recklessness, but of foresight, coordination, and moral clarity. The last Imperial command vessel, crippled and isolated, transmitted a final, trembling signal. No taunts, no threats, only the quiet acknowledgement of a species underestimated for centuries. Humanity had arrived, calm yet unstoppable, not to conquer indiscriminately, but to assert a principle, that intelligence, courage, and moral resolve were forces no arrogance could withstand. Every strike, every maneuver, every improvisation reflected a species that had turned survival into art, strategy into philosophy, and unity into triumph. Across the system, Terran pilots maneuvered through the scattered remnants of the battle, ensuring no hidden threats remained. Boarding teams cleared remaining hatches, engineers sealed breaches, and medics tended to wounded allies. The fleet, vast and coordinated, pulsed with quiet authority, radiating both vigilance and the calm satisfaction of victory hard-earned. Humanity had proven that raw strength was not the measure of a species. Foresight, intellect, and moral clarity were, in the silent moments after the last Imperial retreat, the Terran flagship drifted amidst the stars, engines humming a steady rhythm, sensors scanning the void with unerring precision. The galaxy, now aware of humanity's capabilities, shivered at the implications. The species once underestimated had demonstrated not only survival, but supremacy through intellect, adaptability, and unity. They had arrived in silence, fought with precision, and emerged victorious, not through recklessness, but through strategy, courage, and a profound understanding of the universe itself. From the bridge, the captain gazed at the distant nebulae, at the wreckage of arrogance scattered across the void, and at the quiet glow of stars stretching endlessly. The humans had defended themselves, protected allies, and rewritten the galaxy's perception of their species in a single, unbroken display of brilliance. Their triumph was not merely tactical, it was moral, intellectual, and undeniable, and as the void whispered in silence, the galaxy realized a single, irrevocable truth: humanity would not be ignored.